The following is the conversation between me and Cian Crosse. Cian is an entrepreneur, founder, recruiter, and I have loads of fun talking to him. This is Way of Working podcast. If you like what I'm doing, please leave a like, subscribe, and check out partners on the description below. Okay, so
Sounds good.
yeah, so I'll put the record here. So can you talk us? Can you go through a little bit about yourself and what you do and what is your specialties?
Cool. Yeah. So obviously, my name is Cian Crosse. I'm the founder of 9dots.io. We've got offices in Bahrain in the Middle East, and then we've got offices in Dublin. So I started 9dots. Geez, nearly 6 years ago now.
Oh my God.
So yeah, from my sins. So we specialize in tech recruitment, so outsourcing, and recently moved into kind of tech sales. Team of 11 people, and probably looking to continue to grow. In terms of, I suppose, I don't know if that's kind of gives you a bit of a background, but in terms of kind of the stuff we work on, it's everything within tech. So I know that we try to stay away from kind of the operational stuff, but as I mentioned, we've just moved into tech sales, so software engineers through to kind of C-suite, and then more recently we're in the process of building out a contracting platform to kind of help dispel the idea of the lack of transparency within the contracting market. So, but I'm sure we can kind of touch base on that a little bit later.
Oh, definitely. So can you walk through like the beginning, like when you decided to start 9dots, and like what makes you go through this path, and so what makes you decide to start doing tech recruitment?
Cool. So I mean, I was, I suppose, previously in my previous life, I was one of those people who were sat outside shops getting people signed up to charity in Australia. Yeah, don't hate me for it, but 100% of the money did actually go to charity. So, I think from there, I think that a lot of people kind of, I suppose it's the coldest selling environment you could probably work on, was no one woke up that morning going, I'd love to sign up to charity. From that, it was kind of an obvious career path kind of to move into to recruitment. So I worked in a company for 4 years to the day, actually, which is a brilliant company named Harvey Nash. So I was there for 4 years, and I then decided that I wanted to do things, I suppose, the way I want to do things, I suppose, and that's not a slant on Harvey Nash. I suppose kind of want to be a little more me and less corporate, and kind of more focused on the kind of the people aspects of. I mean, we're all people at the end of the day. I think we just so happens we all have jobs. So I think that's kind of what I wanted to kind of get from it. So I started from my kitchen's table. My kitchen's table. Yeah, my parents' kitchen table.
That's nice.
And we kind of snowballed from there. I suppose I just wanted to do things a little bit differently, and I think that's kind of hopefully what we've done.
All right, cool. So now you have 11 people. So I feel like when I've been talking to a lot other recruiters, I see like the main problem nowadays for a recruitment company is like a lot of the activities that doesn't scale as a technology company. So like more clients you come in, more people you need to hire to search out candidates and do all this stuff. So how did that work for you? Like do you feel like that's the same is in tech space, or you feel like you nowadays with technology that we have available, you can leverage more technologies to not force you to hire more people to work for you?
So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with I suppose kind of I know a lot of agencies typically will from what I've seen anyway, they tend to kind of overhire, or maybe not overhire, but kind of hire with the idea that they'll get more work. And we've kind of done it the reverse way, where we're just like, look, if we get work, we'll hire more people. So I know that's kind of what you mentioned, but with I suppose kind of how we've kind of gone about it is I think it's kind of worked for us because I think obviously with the pandemic and everything else, it just meant that we were in an okay position. In terms of kind of using different tools, I'm all about it. I think much to the dismay of my team, I think I'm always like, let's try this tool, let's try that tool. I don't think it's going to replace people, to be honest. It's just about how can we make your job easier. And if there are better tools for the job, then why not use it? Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how we've gone about it, because I know someone approached me a while back about looking at VC funding so I could scale properly, and it didn't really sit well with me. I was like, for what we do, and to kind of remain the way we are in terms of kind of the people and kind of I suppose not being as stressed as we possibly could just by doing it the way we have. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, I think you do. Yeah, because sometimes I think that's the most struggle of companies, like how do you build, how do you increase, like how you grow as a company, and majority of the companies, they're like, oh, let's just hire and then we grow. And then I think for your approach, you grow first and then you hire. That's a really interesting, different approach.
And I think with kind of you've seen it. Like I mean, it's I think it's on everyone's lips at the minute. Like with all the layoffs and stuff. And I think that's a perfect example of of, in my opinion, how not to do it. I don't know if necessarily they overhired, or if people kind of maybe copycatting a little bit to trim the fat, so to speak. But it was never going to last forever. And obviously last year was absolutely bonkers. So I think it was something had to give, and I think yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Talking about the tech layoff, and we can go through like more the market, like nowadays, the recruitment market. Do you feel like there's still a higher demand? And if there is a higher demand, or there is a lower demand, what is the most like tech skills you see companies asking for more right now?
I think. Yeah, I think there's just as much demand as there was. I think we've been fortunate. We don't really work with, I suppose, the FANG or whatever. So I think, but other companies who have mandates that they secured funding back previously or whatever, they still have a mandate to fill. So people are still hiring, which again is good for us and good for the economy. In terms of kind of the skills, I mean, it's much and much. I think the likes of TypeScript, React, Node.js, and so forth is always. But then there's Python. I don't think there's one skill that favors another. I know people will kind of always say that there is one in particular, but I think it's much and much. I know the crowd you've just joined, I think that they're very much is it TypeScript, is that the kind of the stack you're going down?
So TypeScript, yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, it's the right tool for the right role or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So you say like you guys building out your own tech stuff, right? So you're not just a recruiter now; you are a tech startup.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it could be finger in the air sort of stuff, but hopefully, we're solving a problem that I think has been a problem since day's time. I think so. Hoping that so we're building out a company called I think we're going to keep it in conjunction with. It's going to be in conjunction with 9dots, so it'll be Knee by 9dots. Knee is Irish for 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, tech co-founder, yeah. Yeah, we'll see. But essentially, the idea being is that I think with it kind of snowballed. We've been chatting about it since before Christmas, and originally we were talking about maybe creating like a Slack community where we could kind of let people know about contracts and the kind of the be transparent about the rates that we're giving. And then it kind of snowballed, and we were like, well, why don't we just build a platform where the contractors, I think one of the biggest problems that's been is the lack of transparency within the recruitment
I see.
market. I think with recruiters are not always the flavor of the month at the best of times. So I think with the idea of contractors that they don't really know what they're being charged out at.
I
And
see.
it's always a race to the bottom. So you feel like someone's, they're like, oh, will you accept 450? Will you accept whatever it is, just so they can increase their margins, which at the end of the day, like, obviously if you've got a really smooth process and you're being paid on time and you're constantly, you're not just a gun for hire, but there's that
Mhm.
whole kind of relationship piece where you actually speak to your recruiter or whatever it is,
Yeah,
then there's value add there. But I think if you're making €200 a day on someone who's making 400 a day, that doesn't really make sense,
I
especially
see.
if we're not doing anything, or if we're not paying on time. Do you know what I mean? So
I know, yeah.
so it's kind of there's so many different ideas within this platform, but yeah, we're excited to see where it goes. So we've kind of seen the first screenshots there,
Hmm,
and we should be.
nice.
Yeah, it means it's real. So, so we should be good to go in the next kind of 10 weeks. What we'll be looking to do is we've kind of partnered up with a number of companies who are, I suppose, design partners, where they'll kind of help us tweak, because we don't want to release it
I
to the
see.
wild and being shit. We wanted to make sure that it actually works properly. So yeah, it should be exciting, and essentially it's a contracting marketplace.
Mm, okay.
If
You
it
don't you
just
don't need to give out everything if you don't want to.
yeah. Sorry, yeah,
You know,
true.
yeah, because sometimes you want to just like, I know you wanted to build momentum. I don't know how much you can say to me. They can say
No,
whatever they want. I just like,
it's all about transparency, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah, look, it's a end-to-end contracting platform. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
But
All right. That's nice.
but no, but we'll see how it goes. Hoping we've gotten some decent interest from it, and it doesn't even need to be localized to just Ireland. So
I see.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how we go. But yeah, watch this space.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I seen, well, what you're doing without knowing much. I seen that actually it's become a trend amongst like recruitment, because I've been talking to a lot of recruiters, and almost all of them they dealing with more with contractors than actual a contract role. So do you feel that's the trend of the market, or do you feel that's more the trend of the niche of the market that you are right now?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think just I suppose with Nine Dots, we've been going for kind of, as I said, coming up to 6 years. Traditionally, we've only had kind of permanent work.
Yes,
We've I think we maybe have about, I don't know, 10 or 15 contractors on our books, but they've all been kind of organic through kind of relationships that we've had.
I see. I
But
see.
we're looking to kind of build out our contract capabilities. But in terms of kind of answering your question, in contract, I think a lot of time now, I think people will lean heavily on contracting because,
Okay.
especially after the shit show of kind of all the layoffs and everything else, I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
people are like less, are a little bit wary about hiring people on a permanent basis. So they are going to just go, well, look, if I need a gun for hire, or I've got a project that needs to be built, I don't need to go through the rigmarole of kind of getting someone on board from a permanent capacity, and then
I
obviously
see.
it can be quite hard to let people go or whatever
Mm,
it is. So, but there's always going to be a need for contractors. That like
exactly.
I've got a massive kind of network in the contracting world, and they've just lots of them have just been contractors through and through. They've no real interest to kind of go into the permanent side of things. I mean, obviously situations change and why you want to go permanent or whatever. But yeah, but I do think it's going to be somewhat contract heavy over the next kind of year or two for sure.
Yeah, I feel that too, because one of the point that you said, like companies they were they were called for accountability because they were like laying off some other people, and now they see like, okay, so what we did was wrong, so now how do we avoid that? And then but they still need to scale people to build stuff and
Yeah,
to make keep the company running. So I feel that actually, yeah, it's one of the paths they're gonna do when they need only for a short period of time, because then when you have a contractor, it's kind of easy, you know. It's just like, you know, you have 6 months contract, that's it, and it can extend, but then you have these there, and they don't need to keep rolling your contract. It's good. It's a fair. It's more fair because it's more transparent in a way. But in another
Yeah.
way, as I said, there is a lot of things. For example, I never accept contractor because for me it was like, okay, so that's this amount of money per day, but I don't know how much I'm gonna take home for me. You know, like that's one of the things that for me was very difficult to accept.
But that's yeah, again, that's something else we will be touching often on the our platform. Is very much, if you've never done contracting and you don't really know how to go about it, that's something we'll be helping with as well. So you can kind of actually look at what my take home pay versus kind of
Yeah.
for a day rate, because it's a bit of the unknown as well. I think
Yeah.
as you just mentioned, you're like, well, how much am I actually making? It sounds great on a daily rate, but how much am I actually going to be taking home at the end of the month? And what can I expense? What can I, do you know what I mean? There's lots of different kind of
Yeah.
caveats to it. So yeah, that's something that'll be built into the platform as well.
All right. That's
Just
that's
plugging that
nice.
platform.
Just plug me in there. I'm sold already. Yeah, it's okay, cool. And you guys, so you co-founding this platform, right? I know I don't want to go into the specific, but like, uh, how do you choose the technology? So you work with someone that's in the tech space, and then you decided through them, or you
Yeah.
research yourself to find the
Yeah,
technology to do.
because I know that's kind of how you've joined your new place. That was
Yeah,
kind of so the founders of your company were asking you about,
yeah.
and I think for me, yeah, I suppose I didn't do a huge amount of research, which is
All
kind
right,
of
no problem.
ironic because obviously I've been in the tech recruitment game for so long now. But
Hmm.
I've actually gone down. So a friend of mine, he's he's built and kind of scaled a number of different companies, and now
All right.
he set up his own consultancy.
Mm.
He's given me all the kind of documentation and kind of what it's been
Oh, that's
built on.
good.
It's just for FYI, it's all built on Rails. But
Oh, nice.
yeah, like, and kind of if we decide to kind of grow it out bigger, we can then kind of plug people in per se. That will be kind of direct employees of us. But for the moment, we've just
Hmm.
gone down. It's all the latest versions of all the different kind of
The technology. Yeah.
technologies. I know in the middle of this conversation, there's probably a new JavaScript library out or something like this. But
Exactly.
so it's not the latest anymore. But yeah, I think I didn't really, to be honest, the way I've been kind of explained, it's like
Mm.
it's what's the best tool for the job. So this is kind of what I know. He's built out a number of different really nice platforms for his
Hmm.
clients,
Hmm.
and so I'd imagine a lot of it's just kind of reusable code. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. And yeah, so thinking back about like the just changing the subject, so it's not like not explore more, you know, the company anymore. But going back to the recruitment side, I how was it for you and at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, where we saw a lot of these layoffs? Like, how this impacted you? So, like, what do you feel? What this was going, and it impact any of the personnel that you have put into the companies as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, yeah, at the beginning of this year, you kind of obviously it's my company, and I kind of have to keep all
Exactly. Yeah.
happy. But yeah, I think I was a little bit nervous at the beginning of the year, just to kind of see what was going on. And of course, no one knows. It's kind of just it kind of gave me shudders and reminders of the pandemic, where you're like, shit, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So, but thankfully, all the work we've had hasn't dried up, and we've managed to get more work. So I think the team itself have been happy enough, because I do know that it isn't the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So there has, but everyone on my team's been great. They're kind of all pitching in to kind of find new business and everything else. So very much kind of that team mentality. With regards to kind of candidates that we would have placed or anything like that. They thankfully, I think there was only one company
All right.
that basically they were setting up in Ireland, and then they just basically pulled the plug, and they'd hired three people from us, and they just it
Oh,
is
it's
what it
good.
is, and I think that's
Yeah.
happened a couple of times, but thankfully we haven't really been impacted by it. But yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So yeah. Um. Yeah. Look. Well, now looking forward, do you keep looking at the current trends of technology, and you kind of trying to be ahead of the demand of the companies, just to have a look at like what technologies could emerge, and what technology could be a desire or a demand for the companies, or you driven more for like what's going on now, what's happening now, and then let's work what's going on right now.
So, as in, look, I mean, in terms of, I think ChatGPT is probably the biggest buzzword at the minute.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be honest, I met up with a guy named Leonard. He was my LinkedIn account manager years ago. He's actually set up a company that helps companies understand how to use ChatGPT
All right.
from their own. For their own benefit as such, because I mean if you're really into it, then you'll kind of easily see the kind of different benefits that you can kind of get from it. So I did set up a call, and I had a great call with him, just to kind of you do need to be wide to all the things that are kind of coming in, because it's not going away. So
Mm,
I
mm.
think from that perspective, I'm learning slowly about kind of the likes of ChatGPT. But in terms of the other kind of trends, I mean, yeah, like it's very much kind of what's going on in terms of from a client perspective, or we're talking to them and finding out what they might be looking to get into. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, ChatGPT is the thing at the moment, and
well, it's
it's
the
fun.
old thing now. What is it? The Vision, the Apple Vision thing now is the
Oh yeah, the
ChatGPT is old.
goggles.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought when I saw the Apple thing, I forgot. Okay, there's something to use your iPhone underwater or something like that,
Yeah,
because
yeah. You need these things. Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but at the same point, it's a nightmare for front end developers and app developers, because now you have a new operation systems to develop with. You have a new set of elements for companies to set up like stuff for this. It's, I don't know what to think about it, to be honest. I'm not a
Yeah, like I mean,
consumer.
what would I mean for the likes
Mhm.
of kind of the Vision, is Apple Vision or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like I mean, so obviously with kind of the different kind of trends within even just the JavaScript ecosystem.
yeah.
I mean, what are you seeing?
Well, I I don't think Apple created a new market as they keep saying they did. Because what I believe what they did was like take everything that's good out there in the market, let's make it better. And that actually, I believe they make it is really better than, for example, MetaQuest. That actually the closest AR VR kind of headset they have to this Apple Vision. But at the same time, I think one things they did right. I put this on LinkedIn. One of the things is like let's not create this crazy weird avatars. Let's not create this weird world. Let's just use the world around us, and then let's build something on top of that. That's real.
Yes.
That's the reality, and that's what they want to enhance reality, and as well there is a perspective of future as well. Like what's the next brain computer interface going to be, because you have because we always been interfacing with computers. We have been always using computers to interface with our brains. So like we use personal computers before, and then we create notebooks, and then we create phones. So the computers get closer and closer to us, and like closer to in our hands and within us. So that's actually is an interface, and I feel like when Zuckerberg created Meta, I feel that he was envisioning what's going to be the next brain computer interface, and I feel Apple sees the same because it's a hardware company, right? But then there is other approach as well. For example, Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your brain. That's
Yeah, Neuralink. Yeah,
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 Neuralink. So it's always like interpretations from different companies to see like what's the next brain computer interface going to be. And that's what I see. And I don't feel that Apple Vision is actually the final product. It's just the beginning of something they're gonna build. Something that they always like when they created something new, the new big thing. So yeah, so that's what I believe we can take away from the Apple Vision.
and but you're dead right as well. I think it's definitely not the final product. I think it's just a little
Yeah,
taste of what's to come. To be honest,
exactly,
um,
exactly.
but in terms of kind of the JavaScript ecosystem, what are you seeing?
Yeah, the JavaScript ecosystem is it's been very powerful right now because now we can create apps, native apps, you can create web apps, PWA, you can create a lot of things with JavaScript. And what I'm seeing now is a lot of other frameworks and technologies coming from different languages that can leverage JavaScript and can infuse JavaScript with other machine learning programming languages that likes of Python. So like I feel like the three main languages in the future for web development and backend development would be Rust, Python, and JavaScript. I feel that's the way the market's going, because Python is going to do heavy mathematical stuff, Rust is going to do heavy backend stuff, and JavaScript is going to do the heavy front end stuff. So I think
Yeah,
it's going to be the mix of the
makes
three.
sense.
They're gonna make the future, and JavaScript, I feel it's I don't know. I think we have to wait for the next framework to come out to see,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
always
yeah, for
like
sure.
the tomorrow framework, the tomorrow library, and it's always like that. It's so funny.
I remember when I first started in recruitment, Jesus, probably 10 years ago now. Angular JS was the thing, and they were like
Yes.
JavaScript. They're like, it's always going to be like we don't need JavaScript engineers. And now, yes, it's
Yeah.
it's the everything. Like,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's so funny. All right, man. I feel like I covered all the topics. Do you have any question? Do you have any stuff for me?
no, not at all. And hopefully, I answered everything
Oh yeah,
without.
definitely.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I have a philosophical question if you wanted to.
Yeah, go
I
for
don't
it. Go
even
for
do
it. Whether I answer it well is a different thing. Go for it.
Yeah, because there is a guy I was actually looking at some his work like Monday. His name is Albert Camus. Camus, I think it's Camus. I think so. Like one of the things like he didn't talk about work, but then he'd say something like I think I have here the quote. So like he quote like this: "Without work, our life goes rotten. But when works is soulless, life stiffles and dies." So I believe that is inherent values and significance of work, and that's why I'm trying to discover the value of work. So, what would be for you like the value of work? What is the value for work for you?
Look, I mean, we spend like the majority of our life working at some point, and then between that we're sleeping.
Yeah.
So I think you might as well enjoy it. So
Mm.
that's something that I think with my team as well that we've basically I want to make sure that it's not a shit environment to work in, but people
Mm.
enjoy coming in or whatever,
Yeah.
working, and they're actually valued, I suppose, like an asset, not just a resource. So I think, yeah, like I know that's probably didn't answer it as well, but there's that whole that proverb. What is it? Shit, I can't think of it. Something along the lines of work when you're happy and you haven't worked a day, or
Yeah,
whatever it
it's true.
is. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, nailed
yeah.
it.
It's true. Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think that's something. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we do spend the everyone spends all the, like as I said, a majority of your life kind of working. So from
Yeah.
a cultural standpoint, excuse the buzzword, I think you just it shouldn't have to feel like work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think
Definitely.
that comes down with the people you work with as well, and the kind of the problems you face. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. obviously everyone's got different
Yeah,
motivations,
man.
but
Yeah. Listen, man, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
yeah, no, thanks very
You
much,
know,
Lucas.
and do you want to like, if people want to contact you, it's like, what's the main channel? You want to leave any message or anything there?
Yeah, look, you can get me on Cian at 9dots.io. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, LinkedIn, you'll find me Cian Crosse.
All right, perfect. All right, man. Thank you very
Cheers,
much,
Lucas.
and